The magical tree of life. Chapter 1. A strange old map. On a bright and breezy afternoon, 9-year-old Luna stared out her bedroom window. Her house sat at the edge of the whispering woods where the tall pine trees swayed like dancers in the wind. Luna's wide eyes followed the drifting leaves and dancing sunbeams, and she thought, I wish there was an adventure waiting for me out there. Little did she know, adventure was about to knock on her door, quite literally. Luna, called her father from the kitchen. The mail just arrived, and there's a package for you. Curious, she dashed downstairs. On the table lay a small cardboard box labeled with curly letters. To Luna, bright, from T. Darwin. She tilted her head in confusion. Who in the world is T. Darwin? Inside the box, she found an old, weathered scroll. It smelled faintly of lavender and earth. She unrolled the scroll with care. It showed a giant tree with countless branches, all twirling and twining around each other. From the thick trunk at the bottom, the branches split into smaller and smaller twigs near the top. Tiny drawings of creatures, some that looked like fish, others like lizards, birds, and fluffy mammals, decorated the branches. At the very top, close to the leaves, she spotted the silhouette of a child that looked almost like her. A note was tucked behind the scroll. Dearest Luna, if you want to learn the wondrous story of how every living creature is connected, follow the steps on this map. Find the old tree in the whispering woods near the trickling creek. When the moon is high and the forest is still, whisper your name to the tree. Then see what unfolds. T. Darwin. Luna's heart pounded with excitement. She had often wandered in the whispering woods, but this was the first time she'd heard about a mysterious old tree. That night, when the moon rose like a silver lantern, Luna tiptoed from her house, scroll in hand. She followed the path through the woods until the soft gurgle of water led her to a creek. And there, wider than any tree she'd ever seen, stood an ancient oak. Its bark was rugged and knotted, with deep cracks that made it look like a wise, wrinkly face. She stepped forward timidly and whispered, I'm Luna. I've come to learn. The wind seemed to hush. A single, glowing leaf drifted from a high branch, landing gently in front of her feet. As soon as she picked it up, a rush of energy shot through her fingertips, up her arms, and swirled around her heart. A shimmer of light surrounded her, and in the blink of an eye, she disappeared from the forest floor. Chapter 2. The Tree's Secret. When Luna opened her eyes, she found herself no longer in the woods. Instead, she stood on a giant branch of a colossal, magical tree, stretching into a sky painted with shimmering stars. She looked down. Far below was the massive trunk, and high above were countless branches and leaves that sparkled and chimed like bells in a breeze. Luna gasped as she saw tiny pathways along the branches, each leading to different doors shaped like glowing orbs. Every door seemed to depict a different creature. Some were fish, some were insects, some were dinosaurs. Just then, a small figure hopped onto the branch beside her. It was a talking tree frog wearing a miniature cape. His bright green skin glistened in the starlight, and he offered a wide, froggy grin. Hello there, croaked the frog. I'm Tito Frogsworth, caretaker of the magical tree of life. You must be Luna. Luna blinked in surprise. You can talk? Tito laughed. Why, of course, dear traveller. You're in a special place now. Thoughts, words, and wonders come to life here. I've been expecting you. The tree of life holds the story of every living thing, stretching back to the very beginning. It's the story of evolution, the way creatures change over many, many, many years. Luna gently touched the bark. But how? How does it all fit in a tree? Tito rubbed his tiny frog hands together. This is a map of life, a family tree of every creature that has ever lived or ever will. The trunk represents the earliest, simplest life forms on Earth. Each branch is a path taken by one group of living things. Over billions of years, new branches shoot off when creatures change. Some branches keep going, others end if the creatures can't survive changes in their world. Luna felt her heart flutter with excitement. So, how do I learn all its stories? You use these. Tito pulled out a string of luminous leaves. Each leaf glowed with a warm golden light. They're time leaf tokens. You simply hold one to a glowing door, and it will take you on a journey to witness how life has changed through time. Luna smiled wide. An adventure? I can't wait. Then follow me, said Tito, and we shall see how life began in a world of water. Chapter 3. Journey to the Watery World. Tito hopped along the branch to a swirling orb with a picture of a wiggling, single-celled organism. This is where it all began, he said. Luna pressed a time leaf to it, and the orb opened into a shimmering portal. A warm light enveloped them, and they found themselves underwater, though Luna could breathe just fine. She looked around in amazement. There was no fish, no seaweed, no coral. The water was murky, like soup. Floating around them were tiny blobs of life, some shaped like little bubbles or jelly beans. They swirled and drifted. Tito introduced them. These, dear Luna, are single-celled organisms. We're talking about an Earth billions of years ago. Simple is the name of the game here. Just tiny cells that feed, grow, and make copies of themselves. But how did life go from these little cells to all the creatures we have today? Luna asked. Time, said Tito with a croak of emphasis. Lots and lots of time. These tiny cells began changing in small ways. Some found better ways to turn sunlight into energy. Some got faster at swimming. And over countless generations, little differences added up to big changes. Eventually, they joined forces, forming multi-celled organisms, and that's how more complex creatures started evolving. Luna watched as, in fast forward, some of the jiggly blobs clumped together, forming small colonies. Over time, which seemed to move like quicksilver in this magical glimpse, these colonies started resembling seaweed-like shapes, jelly-like creatures, and other forms with many cells working as one. Adaptation, explained Tito, pointing to a swirling shape that looked like a cross between a slug and a leaf. It means that small changes that help a creature survive in its environment get passed on to the next generation, and bit by bit, new forms of life spring up. They swam upward, and the scene changed. More complicated sea creatures appeared, sponges, corals, and strange, alien-like animals scuttling along the seafloor. Luna's eyes shone. She was witnessing eons of evolution in moments. Suddenly, the water shimmered. Next stop, the grand explosion of life, said Tito. Time to see the age of fish. Chapter 4. Where the fish roam. Luna felt the current shift, and in the blink of an eye, she found herself in a shallow sea teeming with life. Fish darted in shoals, their scales flashing silver. Trilobites, funny little creatures with segmented shells, scurried along the seabed. Some fish had jaws, others had odd armored plates on their heads. The variety was astonishing. This is the Cambrian and Ordovician period, a time when sea life really took off, Tito explained. It's sometimes called the Cambrian explosion, though it wasn't a real boom. It still took millions of years. But this is when life forms in the sea diversified like never before. Luna marveled at a fish with thick, bony plates. That one looks tough. Tito nodded. We call those placoderms. Early fish with bony armor. Over time, fish evolved better jaws, fins, and gills that helped them thrive in oceans, rivers, and lakes. Some even started breathing air from the surface, preparing them for a very big move. Just then, a fish with fleshy fins and wide eyes popped to the surface and took a gulp of air. Is that fish breathing air? Luna exclaimed. That's one of the first creatures with lobed fins, said Tito. They're like stepping stones to land animals. Watch carefully. Soon, Some fish with strong, bony fins will crawl onto land. That's a giant leap in evolution. Luna watched the fish with wonder. They had no idea how important their strong fins would be to future generations. As the sunlight above danced on the water's surface, Luna felt a gentle pull. Time was moving forward again. Chapter 5. The Great Land Adventure. When the waters receded from her vision, Luna found herself in a lush, swampy forest. Towering plants stood tall, like massive ferns the size of trees. Giant dragonflies with wingspans as wide as eagles whirred overhead, and the air was thick and humid. "This period is sometimes called the Carboniferous," Tito said, hopping onto a tree trunk. "Plants and insects are everywhere. Some of these insects got huge because there was more oxygen in the air back then." She saw an enormous salamander-like creature crawling near the water's edge. Its limbs were sturdy, as if it had taken the fish's fins and turned them into arms and legs. "That's an early amphibian," explained Tito. "Our fishy friends who came onto land eventually gave rise to these fellows. They still need to stay moist because they lay eggs in the water. But watch carefully. Some creatures will evolve eggs that can survive on land without drying out. That's the next big step." Luna noticed a lizard-like animal waddling around, laying a hard-shelled egg in a hidden nook. "That's amazing," she whispered. "No more rushing back to the water for every egg." "Yes," Tito agreed. "We call these amniotes. Reptiles, birds, and mammals come from that line. The egg that could survive on dry land was a huge game-changer in evolution." As time fast-forwarded, some amphibians grew large and stayed close to the swamp. Others evolved drier scales and ventured deeper into the forest. Plants changed too. Some became seed-bearing, spreading life across continents. Luna was dazzled by it all. Suddenly, the sky seemed to shimmer again. Something enormous lurked in the next era. Chapter 6. The Age of Dinosaurs. Whoosh! Luna landed on a dusty plain under a scorching sun. When she looked up, her eyes widened. Towering above her, munching on tall conifers, was a gigantic long-necked dinosaur. Its tail swished, causing a thunderous thump against the ground. In the distance, smaller dinosaurs darted between the legs of this giant, picking at ferns. "Oh my goodness!" Luna squealed. "Dinosaurs!" "Welcome to the Mesozoic era," Tito said, adjusting his cape with pride. "The age of reptiles." Over millions of years, reptiles branched out and evolved into many forms. Some just so happened to be these massive, magnificent dinosaurs. They walked past a herd of triceratops with their 3 horns and neck frills, grazing peacefully. Then, a scaly predator with teeth like daggers prowled behind rocky outcroppings. "Meet Tyrannosaurus rex," said Tito, with a slight tremor in his voice. "They're formidable. But remember, every creature here is adapted to its environment. The large plant-eaters need strong digestion for tough vegetation. The predators need sharp senses and teeth. Evolution shapes each according to what helps them survive and reproduce." Luna noticed dinosaurs with feathers, small, bird-like ones, flitting around the jungle edges. "Dinosaurs with feathers?" she asked. "Aren't feathers for birds?" Tito's froggy grin returned. "Birds are dinosaurs, in a way. Feathers evolved in some dinosaur groups, maybe for warmth or display. Over time, some grew specialized feathers for flight, and that's how the first true birds emerged." They gazed in awe as a feathered dinosaur hopped between branches, its plumage glinting in the sunlight. "So birds today are living dinosaurs?" Luna asked. "Precisely," Tito said. "Evolution never stops. Remember, everything that's alive is part of this grand family tree." But then, in a flash, the sky grew dark. A massive shadow streaked across the horizon, a comet hurtling toward Earth. The ground rumbled. Dust filled the air. "This," Tito croaked, "is the end of the Cretaceous period. A catastrophic asteroid impact changed the planet's climate." Luna watched in sadness as the dinosaurs panicked. an enormous explosion rocked the land, followed by thick clouds blocking out the sun. Most dinosaurs won't survive, Tito explained gently. But the ancestors of birds will endure, along with smaller mammals. Life always finds a way. Chapter 7. The Rise of Mammals. The air cleared, and Luna found herself in a cool, forested world. Small, furry creatures skittered along branches. Some glided from tree to tree like flying squirrels, while others scurried underground. A group of deer-like animals sipped water by a stream. The land was calmer, the dinosaurs' age behind them. Tito pointed to a furry creature with a pointed snout. Mammals like that lived quietly under the dinosaurs' shadow for millions of years. Once the dinosaurs, except for birds, disappeared, mammals had new opportunities. Different mammals evolved to fill the roles left vacant by large reptiles. And indeed, in quick snapshots of time, Luna saw huge mammals appear. Rhino-like creatures with horns, elephant-like behemoths with tusks, saber-toothed cats with impressive fangs, and giant ground sloths as big as elephants. In the trees, primates swung among the branches, big-eyed and curious. "This is the Cenozoic era," said Tito. "Mammals spread across the earth, adapting to deserts, forests, grasslands, and even oceans. See that whale-like creature with tiny limbs? Its ancestors walked on land before evolving to live in the sea permanently." A splash drew Luna's eye. A large whale ancestor was diving beneath the waves, still bearing the faint outline of hind legs. "It's incredible how creatures adapt," she marveled. "It's all about survival in changing environments," said Tito. "Small, helpful variations, like thicker fur in cold climates or stronger jaws for chewing tough grass, help certain animals pass on their genes. Over many, many generations, these changes can become completely new species." Suddenly, a rustling in the nearby bushes revealed a small primate with curious eyes, nibbling on fruit. "Primates," Luna whispered. "That's our group, right?" Tito nodded. "Indeed. We share ancestors with all primates. But let's move forward a few more million years to see the lineage that leads to us, humans." Chapter 8. Our humble beginnings. The forest grew drier in patches, turning into open savannas. Groups of ape-like creatures ventured from the safety of trees to walk upright across the grasslands. Some carried sticks or rocks to crack nuts or dig roots. "These early hominins discovered that walking upright saves energy," Tito said. "It helps them see over tall grasses, keep cool in the hot sun, and carry food or tools. Over countless generations, their bodies adapted for bipedal walking." Luna watched as some individuals who were better at tool-making thrived. They shaped sharp stones to cut meat or scrape hides. With better tools, they could get more nutritious food. Their brains grew larger, and they learned to live in groups for safety and cooperation. She saw them gather around a fire, the flickering flames lighting up their curious faces. They used gestures and eventually early forms of language. "Communication," Tito explained, "makes them strong. They can plan hunts, share stories, and learn from each other." Time sped up again. Luna glimpsed different human species: Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalensis, and eventually Homo sapiens. She observed them migrating, adapting to cold climates with fur clothing and improved shelters, or to scorching deserts with cunning survival strategies. She saw cave paintings, stone tools, and the seeds of agriculture. "In the great story of evolution, humans are quite new on the scene," said Tito. "Yet they have spread across the entire planet. Their creativity and cooperation shaped civilizations. But don't forget that we're still animals, still part of nature's grand tapestry." Luna nodded thoughtfully. "So, all living things today share a deep connection in this tree of life." "Yes," Tito said simply, patting the trunk of a nearby tree. "We're all cousins in a way." Chapter 9. Surprising cousins and ongoing change. Luna and Tito hopped back into the magical, shimmering realm of the Tree of Life. They walked along branches labeled with pictures of modern animals: cats, whales, frogs, tigers, elephants, even orchids and mushrooms. Each door showed a different path evolution had taken. "Look!" cried Luna, pointing at a branching path showing whales and hippos on the same line. "Hippos and whales!" Tito grinned. "Surprising, right? Hippos are whales' closest living relatives on land. Isn't evolution full of unexpected connections?" They paused at a bright branch with a chameleon peering curiously from its leaf. "Chameleons change color to blend in or to communicate," Tito explained. "That's an adaptation that gives them an edge in survival. Sometimes it's for camouflage, other times it's for showing off to a potential mate or scaring off rivals." Moving on, Luna spotted a branch of fruit trees with bees buzzing around them. "Pollination," said Tito. "Flowering plants and pollinators evolved together, helping each other thrive." Every step revealed more stories. How penguins evolved flightless wings perfect for swimming. How desert foxes developed large ears to release heat. How giraffes' ancestors gradually got longer necks to reach higher leaves. Each was a lesson in adaptation and the power of being good enough to survive and reproduce. Luna then noticed an offshoot that ended abruptly. She touched it gently, seeing a picture of a dodo bird. "Extinction?" she asked softly. Tito nodded sadly. "Yes. The dodo couldn't adapt quickly enough when humans arrived on their island, bringing new predators and destroying habitats. Extinction is also part of evolution's story. Not all branches keep growing. That's why we must protect what we have." Luna felt a twinge of sadness, but also a surge of responsibility. "I want to help protect all these marvelous creatures." Chapter 10. The Future of Life. "What happens next?" Luna asked. "Does evolution stop?" "Oh no," Tito croaked with a laugh. "Evolution never stops. As long as life exists and environments change, even slightly, creatures continue to adapt. Some changes might be so small we don't notice them in a human lifetime. But over many generations, big transformations can happen again." They came to a branch that shimmered with possibility. Distant shapes, creatures not yet born, gleamed like stars. This is the future. Climate changes, ecosystems change, and species either adapt, move, or go extinct. Humans also have a big influence through technology, conservation, or sadly, pollution. Luna gently touched one of the shimmering leaves. "I hope we humans learn to protect and cherish all living things," she murmured. "We're all part of the same tree." "You're wise, Luna," said Tito, bowing low. "And now, it's time to return home. You have a story to share with the world." A soft breeze rustled the leaves, carrying a melody like distant chimes. The swirl of light surrounded them once more. Chapter 11. Home again. Luna opened her eyes under the ancient oak tree in the whispering woods. The moon still hung in the sky, silver and serene. For a moment, she wondered if it had all been a dream. Then she felt a warm weight in her hand, a glowing leaf, a souvenir from the tree of life. With gentle steps, she walked home, tucked herself into bed, and drifted off. Her dreams filled with dancing dinosaurs, curious amphibians, and tiny single-celled pioneers. The next morning, she woke bright and early. She rushed to the kitchen, scroll in hand, leaf in her pocket. Her father looked up from his mug of tea. "Good morning, sunshine," he said. "You look like you've had quite an adventure." Luna beamed. "Dad, I have the most amazing story to tell you." She unrolled the Tree of Life map on the table and began explaining everything. The first single-celled organisms, the lobed-finned fish, amphibians and reptiles, dinosaurs and birds, mammals, primates, and finally humans, all connected by an invisible thread of change over billions of years. Her father listened in wonder as Luna described how life is always in flux, adapting to environments that also change. She told him about the power of tiny differences that can shape the fate of entire species. She described meeting a talking frog named Tito, seeing giant dragonflies, and looking into the eyes of T-Rex. She even talked about how, in the end, it's up to humans to decide if we will care for the other creatures on our shared planet. When she finished, her father gave her a long, thoughtful look. "That is indeed an amazing story, Luna," he said softly. "And all of it is true. The tree of life is real. It's just not usually visible the way you've seen it." Luna's eyes sparkled. She remembered Tito telling her that all living things are cousins, parts of the same grand family. She felt both small and important all at once. Epilogue. Telling the tale. In the days that followed, Luna took every chance to share her newfound knowledge. She told her classmates at school about the magical journey, though she left out the part about stepping through shining portals and talking frogs, worried they might tease her. She explained the main idea of evolution, that life started simple, changed slowly over huge stretches of time, and branched out into the amazing diversity of creatures we see today. Her teacher was impressed. She even invited Luna to create a big tree of life mural on a classroom wall showing single-celled organisms at the base, leading to fish, amphibians, reptiles, dinosaurs, birds, and mammals, including humans. Luna spent many afternoons drawing and painting alongside her friends. She added a special branch for extinct creatures, like the dodo and the dinosaurs, that didn't make it past the asteroid impact, reminding everyone how fragile life can be. Whenever Luna needed inspiration, she'd slip out to the whispering woods at dusk and sit by the old oak. She'd hold the glowing leaf to her heart and remember Tito and all the wonders she'd seen. She vowed to be a guardian of life, doing her part, no matter how small, to protect and cherish the living tapestry around her. And so the story continues, just as evolution does. Every creature, from the buzzing bee in your backyard to the great blue whale in the ocean, carries a piece of that ancient history written in its very bones or shells or petals. And we too are part of it, a single, shining branch on the grand, ever-growing tree of life. Author's note for children and curious grown-ups. Dear readers, big and small, you've just journeyed with Luna through billions of years of Earth's history, visiting the magical tree of life. Though the story is filled with fantasy, like talking frogs and glowing leaves, the core ideas are real and based on science. Evolution is the process through which all living things change over very long periods. Simple beginnings. Life began in the ocean with tiny cells. Over time, creatures became more complex. Branching out. Like the branches of a tree, life splits into new species. Some continue to thrive, while others go extinct. Adaptations, traits that help creatures survive and reproduce, get passed on, gradually shaping new forms of life. We're all connected. Humans, whales, frogs, and even flowers share some common ancestors if you trace back far enough. Remember, the tree of life isn't just in the whispering woods. It's all around us, in every forest, every ocean, every backyard. By caring for the environment and respecting nature, we help keep this grand story going for future generations of people, frogs, and every other creature we share our world with. Thank you for reading and exploring. May you continue to discover the wonders of life on Earth, always remembering that we are just one branch on the grandest tree of all. The end.